Hi, welcome to the Get Strong and Healthy podcast. My name is Anna Clow. Thank you for being here. Today, we've got a special guest joining us, Faye. I would love for you to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Anna. So, like you said, my name is Faye, and I run a business called This Is Coaching with my partner. We specialize in helping anybody, but mostly women, navigate life to lose fat, to improve their health, and really take ownership and feel empowered that they can actually change their life instead of just being like, it's the end of my life. What am I going to do? So, a lot around perimenopause, a lot around stress and cortisol, and really just giving them that empowerment to know that they can make a difference in their life as well.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get to where you are now with being a coach? I'd love for you to share a little bit more with our listeners.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's journey to get into owning a business is ever easy as it is. They just fell into it. And so for me personally, in 16, around about then, I decided that I wanted more from my life. I was overweight, but I didn't feel like really uncomfortable. I just wanted to be better in all areas of my life. I just woke up one day and was like, this isn't enough. This isn't enough for me. And I heard an elderly woman talking about how she's not happy in a relationship and she's too old to change. So I thought, you know what, I don't want to get to that age where I'm like, this is it, it's too late. So I started making changes to my life. I left my partner at the time. I started to go to the gym to get stronger. And then, as a byproduct, of course, I started to lose body fat, got more confidence, quit my job, got a new job, and basically just like upgraded my life in all areas. So, overall, I lost about 40 pounds through the journeys. I've been like building and then cutting and building and cutting. And throughout this, I really understood what is missing in women's or general education for health on how to lose body fat, because all we hear is eat less and move more, but actually what is going to make that easier? What are the nuances and how can we empower people to understand and take control instead of being a backseat in their life? So I lost the weight through nutrition, exercise, and understanding my hormones, specifically cortisol. And then I got COVID when that happened. So when I had long COVID, I had that another realization of my life of actually I don't want to do this job anymore. I was doing research marketing for a university, and I knew I had the marketing background, I knew the business development background, and so I wanted to use the knowledge and experience that I had gained through my own health and fitness journey and all the certifications that I'd done out of interest to now start to make a difference in other people's lives. So that's my whole journey essentially, and now I'm here.
That's awesome. And I love how you clarified I lost the weight through nutrition, exercise, and, hormone management, all that. And because to me, I think, it becomes like duh, right? Like second nature. But then a lot of people, it's not, they're like, oh, well, how'd you do it? What's that secret? And then, just reminding people that it is the basics, it is the things that are simple, but not always like easy. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
100%.
yeah, and I love how you started this journey and just seeing how it sounds like fitness was able to ripple effect into your entire life, your confidence, and then quitting your job, like all those things. And I always say that start with fitness. Fitness is the first thing that you can control, you can show up for, and it's going to be the most positive domino ripple effect to every other area of your life.
Yeah, I think you start to learn discipline, which is a big thing to get anywhere in life, commitment to yourself, and you start to draw boundaries with other people and yourself. And so when you start to draw those boundaries, you protect your own time, you protect your own energy, which you can put into wherever you need. But other people start to respect those boundaries and your energy as well. So do what you can and control what you can in your own life And I think I agree with you. Fitness is like the number one thing. And even going to the gym, I was speaking to a client the other day and she said, you know, the biggest wins I've had through my fitness journey is being scared to go into like the quote unquote big boy room with the free weights and then actually going there and doing it. Or I had another client who she's very, very nervous, but spoke to someone at the gym and asked, can I work in with you? These are big things that, like you say, seem small or simple, but not always easy. But the more you do it, the more reps you put in, literally, the better that you'll get, the more confident you'll become, and then your life can turn around for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, I've been in the gym space for probably like 15 years, and it starts to feel really second nature of, maybe not being scared to like talk to someone at the gym or, going, into the weight section, but like working with people, it's so, so common and it's such like a normal thing that I think a lot of people have a lot of shame about. Like, gosh, why am I, just so anxious about it? But it makes sense if you're not comfortable with what you're doing, you're not familiar with the space, and then, all of that combined, it can be really overwhelming. But yeah, that's just the power of continuing to show up and like pushing through that discomfort is that's what I tell, my clients who are new to the gym is like you just need to keep showing up and like you said, like put those reps in because over time, all of a sudden, it's not so scary anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the same with anything, isn't it? Like, I was thinking about this earlier, actually. When you go on a first date, you're nervous, you're anxious, but the more that you go on the date with the same person, you become more comfortable. And it's the same when you go to the gym. You're nervous, you're afraid people are judging you, which when you go on a first date, similar kind of vibe, right? Like you're nervous, you're afraid people are going to judge you. Or when you start a new job, you don't know anybody there, you feel like you don't know what you're doing, you're out of your depth. But actually, the more you turn up, the more confident you become and the bigger things you can achieve. So I think the gym analogy is for basically everything in life. I feel like it can translate across everywhere.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And so before we like dive into our conversation for today, tell our listeners where you're from because you have an accent that I don't think a lot of us are used to with our this podcast.
Funny accent. You can say it. It's fine, Anna.
No, I love it. It's like amazing.
Yeah, so I'm from the UK. I'm from Wales, which is not in England, which a lot of people think it is, but it's in the UK, basically.
Cool. All
Mm.
right. Well, so today Faye and I were chatting, and the topic of nutrition, and more specifically, like meal prep, and talking on this topic today is sort of what came up for us because it's something that we see be very misconstrued by people. There's a lot of misconceptions around it. There's a lot of like anxiousness and feelings of overwhelm whenever you say the word meal prep. So we wanted to talk about meal prep today and like squashing those beliefs, but also just talking about actionable steps of how you can meal prep and make it easy, and really help yourself be successful. So I guess we'll start with like why meal prep and why it's so important. So I guess, yeah, I'll start with a little point here is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's really the difference from a successful week with nutrition versus a not successful week. And it's almost comical because like when I have a week where I'm doing poor with my nutrition, I go, yep, I didn't prep. And that's literally the only difference. It's very clear cut for me because, a lot of us are very busy. And if you don't prepare, we've got work coming up. We have, you might have kids. It just becomes so overwhelming maybe during the week. And so prepping ahead of time is really going to set you up for success. And so yeah, if you have anything to add to why it's important, let us know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference between meal planning and meal prepping, right? I know some people use it interchangeably, but sometimes you can, again, plan. You can meal plan and know, right, I'm gonna have, like for me, a really easy thing I have for lunch is a tin of tuna with some mayonnaise and some vegetables, like and like a little salad or something. It's so easy. I don't necessarily need to like prep it, but I know it's planned. Maybe I've written it into my fitness pal or wherever I'm doing. And then when it comes to that meal, I know I'm having, I don't have to think about it. And obviously, like the women that you and I work with have got a lot of decisions to make through their day-to-day life, with even down to what should I wear or which way am I taking the kids to school today? Are we going to walk? Are we going to take the car? Um, if you're working in a business, am I gonna bring this client on, or what marketing campaign are we gonna do today? There's so many decisions that we don't need to make any more decisions than we have to, essentially, because we'll get decision making fatigue. And that is when people, if they haven't planned, will go, actually, I'll just get a takeout tonight. I'll just get the pizza instead of having that decision already made for you. So I absolutely agree. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And yeah, super important.
Yeah. So with that, like meal, I love how you distinguish meal planning and meal prepping because not every meal has to be something that you necessarily even need to prep. It can be something where, like you said, it's just easy to grab, throw together. But the fact that you did that few minutes of intentional thinking is what separates that, healthy meal from happening to, oh gosh, I don't know what to eat. There's nothing in the house. Screw it. I'm going to order something. And so this is really, it's like being proactive in your life versus reactive. And so taking a little bit of time to really sit down and plan and also do a little bit of preparation is absolutely key. So let's dive into like how we do this ourselves and just how we see clients be most successful. I'll share for myself that I love to keep it super simple. I don't often cook big like recipe meals. Sometimes I do, but a lot of the times I will literally just cook up some beef and maybe throw some potatoes in the air fryer. And really, when I do that, I'm making myself, like, let's say, I'm making dinner. I'm making the food and then I am saving the rest of it for the week. And so let's say like you have a family of four. Instead of making just, the four servings for the whole family, maybe you could double it. And then boom, you have your lunches for the next few days. And so just literally making your, dinner and then having extra, doubling the batch, whatever it is, that's a really easy way to very like sneak in your meal prep essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And when you said air fryer, I was like, that is that is perfect. Like I think air fryers have changed the game for meal prep because you just chuck it in, don't have to think about it. If you're like frying something or something's on the hob, you gotta keep an eye on it, really, don't you? But when you're air frying, chuck it in, close the drawer, turn it on.
I swear you can turn it like to any temperature, like anytime, eyeball it, and it's always perfect. I'm like, okay.
No dry chicken here.
Yeah, like I don't know how that works, but it's just so
Yeah,
good.
magic.
So yeah,
Yeah, when what you said, basically, like my meals are so boring. And when we get new clients, they're always like, "Oh, have you got some recipes?" I'm like, "Girl, you can't hit your protein. You don't need a recipe. Like, you need to sit and figure out how to hit your macros first within calories or just protein or whatever. You need to learn about the basics and understand what a skeleton meal plan looks like. Because if you don't understand how to hit a target, it doesn't matter if you have all the fancy recipes, if you got, the Instagrammable plates, or, those meal plans or recipes that have got this one herb that grows in Guatemala for one day a year or something, and you can't find it. People overcomplicate something that should be absolute. basics. And like you said, just double what you're already cooking. You don't have to spend hours slaving away. Just use, like in the UK, we've got Maggie bags. I don't know if you've got them over there. I don't know if I've seen them, but it's basically like a bag that has got like herbs and spices in. You put the chicken in, and then you could throw it in the oven. It's done. It's very, very easy, but I think people want fancy and they want complicated. And I know because if I go through my gallery, I've got a million screenshots. I've got boards of Pinterest with different recipes on and fun and exciting meal plans I'm going to do. They never see the light of day because I haven't got time. I've got time to like be chopping vegetables. Just give me some frozen veg, chuck it in chuck it on the hob. I'm done. I don't need to be spending hours chopping, cutting. No, peeling. It's not for me.
Yeah, I totally feel you with that. And air fryers, like we said, are game changer, but also crock pots.
Yeah, yeah.
Can tell you, like literally chucking something in there, it takes like 5 minutes a lot of the time, and it can be really simple, like easy recipe, and that can be amazing. And just like you're saying, season your food. Oh my gosh, don't forget because I think some people will like cook up ground beef and then they'll forget to like add anything else than, maybe salt, but definitely salt your food and add seasoning. And it's crazy when you really master cooking something like vegetables is a great example. When you learn how to cook vegetables in a way that you actually like and they're seasoned properly, like that is delicious. But I think a lot of people don't like know how to get there, then they turn out like gross and then they just, they give up on it. But it's like maybe you do need to take a little bit of that extra effort to learn some skills. But once you learn that skill of, oh, that's how I cook my vegetables, easy, makes it simple for the rest of, your life.
Yeah.
So really learning how to make things that you like. And, a lot of us who are busy and we're just big on, tracking macros and, hitting nutrition goals, we like to cook really simple. But,
Mm,
sometimes I've come across like when clients are like, I just don't want to eat like that. I want to eat like a recipe. Okay, cool. Make a recipe and, get the macros from it and you can totally be successful by doing that. But just know that, yeah, it's going to take a little bit extra time and effort. And, it's something where I don't know if you've noticed this, but sometimes there's this belief that cooking healthy, it's just going to take so long and it's going to be this, big thing. But then people say that, but then they end up cooking anyways, just something that's unhealthier. So it's like we need to make food either way. It's just
yeah.
what we're choosing. And maybe what you're choosing is new to you, so it feels overwhelming, it feels like a lot. But I'll tell you that I've made chicken and dumplings in the crock pot, and it's a little bit of like I'm chopping some stuff. It's a little bit of a recipe that like I don't normally make. But after making it like 3 times, I like know exactly how to do it. And it takes me like 2 seconds and, minimal brain power. So that's something else too, is like, if you want to master some recipes, find some good ones that A are, healthy and help you stick in your plan, and B, that you really like, really enjoy, and then that are also quick and easy to make. And so I think that's really the trifecta, and that's what's going to help you be successful.
Yeah. And you use the word enjoy there. And I have this conversation with people all of the time. Like sometimes you just don't have to enjoy your food. Like you don't have to be like, oh my God, that was delicious. It was a gourmet, dish in my mouth. It melted. No, sometimes it's boring. It is boring and it is maybe not necessarily plain, but it could be plain, could be bored, but you don't have to have an extravaganza going on with the taste buds every single time you eat. I break it down into three values. So I think you've got the hedonistic value food, right? Which is like chocolate. The way it sits in your mouth and it melts and you have like you have a little party. Then you've got the emotional value of food, which could be maybe if you're part of like a big family, every week you you catch up, or you go on date night and you do that, or you see your sister or your friend you haven't seen for 6 months. That is an emotional value of food because now you're connecting with it and over it. And then you've got the nutritional value of food, which is your calories, your macros, your micros. I would strongly suggest that 80% of the value should be nutritional. So 80% of the time you should be going for something because of its nutritional value. And then the other 20% because it's a nice, it makes you feel good kind of food, or it's, yeah, like I say, date night. But I think 80% of your meals should be, I'm just eating this because I need to feel my body, because I know I need to get a good workout in, because I had a good workout and I need to recover from it. I don't think you need it to be like, oh, that was delicious every single time. Things in, in business, it's not always like, yes, I can't wait to film more content, like script it out. Or with a, being a mum, I'm not mum, but from what my clients tell me, it's not always fun. It's not always exciting. And sometimes you've got to do boring things like, walk them to school or wherever. But to get anywhere, you have to do a lot of the boring things. Otherwise, your life would be chaos. If you're doing fun all the time, the life would be chaos. So I think sucking it up. Some people don't like it when I say that, but sometimes you gotta suck it up and be like, do you know what? I'm bored of vegetables and maybe chicken and dumplings. Maybe you're bored of that. But do you know what's also boring? Complaining that I'm overweight, seeing the doctor all the time. My partner is probably bored of me going, I'm fat. I don't like my body. None of my clothes fit. That's boring. I would rather eat boring for, you know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, wherever, with the odd 20% of other foods in there, then continue to feel bored in myself for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that. I just think of my own journey and how the times where I've been the most unsuccessful, feeling terrible in my body and in my mind is when I've swung into being looking at food as more of just like this hedonistic, thing that I'm either getting like a dopamine hit or I'm comforting myself emotionally. And that's where I
Mm.
think so many people struggle. And it's something that we get conditioned to just, oh, every meal has to be so delicious and just like hit right. It's like, no, if we can break that, and I know for some people it might sound like far off, but really start to practice like, I'm just going to eat this meal because I know my body needs it and I know it's going to nourish my body and not just because it's going to taste amazing. So, yeah, I think that's a really important point that if we can get into a place where we're valuing food for how it's nourishing our body and not just the taste, you can be just a lot more successful. And then it just makes the like quote unquote like indulgences like so much better.
Mm.
Like you're able to on the weekend just really sit and enjoy something that you might not normally or something and just really appreciate it instead of, just always being, what's the right word? Just gorging yourself and yeah, just trying to get that next dopamine hit. It's like detach your pleasure responses like dopamine from food, like
Mm.
that for me was such a key in my journey because I totally used to use food to like feel better, but it's really something that highly, highly, highly recommend disconnecting that. And that is when you can feel more in control of your approach to your nutrition.
Yeah, yeah. I think looking at yourself and what foods do to you and why you eat certain foods, like you mentioned, emotional eating. If you are feeling an emotion that's not hunger, even though hunger also passes, like most things will pass. So what I get clients to do is to use the wheel of emotion. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's like a wheel with like it's cut up into sections with different emotions on it, and then you go out and it's deeper emotions and deeper emotions. So go in and you'll say, right, well, I'm feeling sad, but actually, what kind of sadness am I feeling? Well, I'm feeling lonely. Okay, so if I'm feeling lonely, that pack of chocolate is not going to suddenly make me have company. So what I need to do is fix the loneliness part. So I could speak to a friend, I could, have a friend over, or I could spend some time with my partner. I could even like listen to a podcast, I could message someone on Facebook, whatever it's going to be, to feel less lonely. I think looking at what the cause is of the emotional eating is the key instead of just being like, well, I'm going to binge all this and then I'm going to feel really bad about myself. And then I'm going to want the dopamine hit again to bring me back out of this slump. So, understanding why we are emotionally eating is really important. And if you have meal prepped properly with good macros, you will feel the need to binge or overeat, or that compulsion, that carb craving will almost be gone. And then you start to recognize actually it's because I'm lonely or I'm angry or I'm frustrated. And then you could do something about it versus being like, well, now I need to think of something to eat as well. And I need to go and get that herb from Guatemala. So, what is it that we actually are trying to fix? I think that's really important. And meal planning gives you that mental capacity to identify it and be like, okay, I know what it is. And now I can do something about it instead of putting a band-aid on it by shoveling candy down my throat.
Yeah, I love this. I love how this like turned into like emotional regulation, but I think it's such an important skill that unfortunately like it's just not, taught, or so many of us struggle with that. And so, yeah, that's definitely super important. And so, next I'd love to just transition into like tangibly how how you can implement meal prep in your life, how you can really be successful. And I'll give some examples, and I'd love to hear how you do it as well. But so for me, what a system that I've found really helpful, and keyword system, you need to incorporate systems into your life and implement systems, because I see so many clients with great intentions. They're like, I'm gonna meal prep and that's my goal for this week. And I'm like, great. Then, maybe they don't follow through. And they're like, oh, I forgot, or oh, like something came up. And what happens is, because they didn't have a system in place and they didn't like implement something, that is why they weren't successful. And side note, that's why in each of my client check-ins, I'm always asking, hey, what's your small goal for this week? And then I follow that up with, okay, and what are we going to implement to do, for that? And so sometimes it does take coaching on that second question for them to understand like what that actually can look like. But so here I'll share my system for meal prep. So I run my whole life by Google Calendar. I can't, live without it. It's really my whole brain is, in Google Calendar, because I just have too many things that my brain would explode and I wouldn't be able to think about anything else in my schedule. So I have, of course, all my events and scheduling and all that, but then also I put tasks in there. And it's really cool because you can put tasks in there and have them repeat weekly. You can have them repeat daily, right? So reminders for yourself, and just a checklist that you want to have for the future. So I like to have my to-do list for the day, like in my notes, and then anything that I know I want to do in the future, I put it into my Google Calendar tasks. And so meal prep is something that I set up this way. So what I do is on Saturdays, I have meal planning. And I've had a few Saturdays where it's like 11 p.m. and I'm finishing up, my day and looking at my calendar and I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't meal plan. So I will literally meal plan at like 11 o'clock at night. And then it takes maybe 10 minutes at the most. But with that, I'm able to say, all right, here's what I need. Here's, the groceries I'm missing. And then what I've been doing recently is, instead of going to the grocery store the next morning like I normally would, is I would just order them online. And through a credit card that I got recently, I get like a free Walmart Plus membership where they actually deliver the groceries to your door. And I've been absolutely loving that because I don't even have to step out of my house. And so I've been loving that membership. So it literally shows up at my door. I can pick, the time that I get it delivered the next day. So a lot of times Sunday morning, I'll have it delivered. And then sometime on Sunday, I'm making sure to do some preparation, whether that be, oh, I'm cooking dinner and I'm making some extra, or sometimes I will literally, I'll prep out my smoothies. Like I have a smoothie daily on my meal plan right now. And so I'll make all of them ahead of time. Um, I will, just cook up vegetables, right? Anything that I know during the week is just going to be too much and just be really tough. So like maybe I won't cook my rice because maybe I'll just easily, throw that in. But I know that I won't want to do my vegetables during the week. So I'll get that prepped and anything like that, boom, good to go. And I just feel so set up for success. And so that is really my system for how I do it. But I'd love if you want to share yours as well.
Yeah, so mine is a bit off the cuff now because I'm so used to eating pretty much the same thing day in, day out that I don't actually need to kind of like plan or prep really because I just know. I just know what I'm having. I'm one of those creatures of habit and I'll just eat the same things. So every time I go to the store, I know what aisle I'm going to. I know where it is on that aisle. I don't need to think about going up and down the aisles and going, oh, look, candy. Oh, look, chips. And you can just dunk those as well, which is awesome as well when you get the deliveries because you haven't really got as much temptation. It's just like click, 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 done. So now I just make sure I've got everything in the house. But what I get clients to do, and honestly, the clients that get the best results, when we look at the check-in on Sunday, they've already got next week's meals put into MyFitnessPal. So the way I get clients to do it is they get a protein target, they go into MyFitnessPal and they put in the protein for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. Then they look at how much protein that is in total versus what they need to eat. And if it's within 20 grams, we're good to go. We can carry on to the next step. But otherwise, they need to either add in a little bit more. So instead of 100 grams of chicken breast, 150 or 200, instead of 100 ml of Greek yogurt, again, 150. So add in more of what they've already got versus, oh God, what else can I have? I think that's another thing that trips people up. So once they've hit their protein within 20 grams, then they go into vegetables and add in enough vegetables basically to hit a fiber target that they've got. So normally I say half a plate of veggies twice a day, some fruit in there, some nuts, whatever. Once they've done that, then they can go on to their like starch carb source basically, and whatever calories they've got left, because normally they've got the fat in like avocado and through their vegetables and their nuts, they can have the extra calories in rice or potatoes or bread or wherever they basically want. So that's the way I get them to set up because then they don't feel restricted. If they want to get in like a candy bar, they can because at the end they'll have the calories left. But now they are not coming to 7 or 8 p.m. on a Wednesday going, oh my God, what am I going to have? I haven't hit my protein yet. What am I going to do? Like chugging down protein shakes, 3 scoops, triple scoops, let me get them in. So I think that is like the best way that I get clients to meal plan. And then often what we'll do is they will create recipes in MyFitnessPal. So they know that they have like chicken dumplings or they have a bolognese that they specifically make in a certain way, put it in as a recipe. Then you can click, yeah, I'm going to have that on Monday evening. I'm going to make double portion. I'm going to have it Tuesday at lunch. So they can easily, batch cook instead of being like, oh, now I need to make another whole thing. They can just reheat it back up. So they're like the best ways I'd recommend. And I used to be like notorious on a Sunday. I used to meal prep and I'd have all my vegetables out in my little Tupperwares and all my chickens out in my Tupperwares. But after, years of doing it, I don't really feel like I need to meal plan or well, meal prep anymore because I eat the same boring things. And when I'm at home, I get these like chicken skewers, which are already cooked. You can reheat them in the air fryer, which I do. Microwave rice because it takes like a minute in the microwave. Sometimes I get like microwave veg or frozen veg or tinned veg. I just make it as simple and as easy as possible because I'm always too busy to be like, all right, I need to sit down and make a fully enjoyable meal. I need to just suck it up and just do it. But then,
Yeah.
if I am on a prep for something, if I'm on a cut or if I'm on a build, then all I need to do is tweak what I normally eat. I don't need to think of a whole new recipe pack or a whole new thing. I'll just have a little less rice or a little more rice, or I'll take away a snack or I'll add a snack. So for me, it's about having like a skeleton that you are happy to eat. Maybe make 2 or 3 different days of different foods that you can pick up and slot in and then just rotate. And for me, that works best because I don't need to think about it and they're all foods that I like.
There you go. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Is just keep it easy. And with I've been working, my coach has me on a meal plan. I've never done meal plan before. I've always just tracked my food, tracked macros. But with being on a meal plan, it's something where just like you're saying, it's like you already know what you're gonna eat, you know exactly what you need. And sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm missing like 2 things, and then I'll just swing by the store like super quick and grab them, and then that's all you need to do, and it just makes things super easy. And microwave, vegetables, life hack for sure. Like, just make it easy on yourself. And then also something I've loved, and this has been the best find ever is at Whole Foods. If you live near a Whole Foods, they've got frozen bag of sweet potatoes that are just chopped up, no skin, and so they're really easy to just like pop in the air fryer because I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing worse than cutting a sweet potato. So I
Hacking into it.
yeah, so I've been loving those and yeah, just like finding those simple, easy, convenient things. And I think that, maybe I think for a lot of us it feels so second nature, but I think this conversation is so important because I think that someone who's getting into trying to eat healthier might think that it has to be this like crazy complicated thing or they're overwhelmed and they don't know what to eat. And I get that, but like at that same time it's just think of the simple things and picking your protein just like you were saying. Like I love that you have them like track all that first. That's actually really genius. I've never heard or seen anyone do that. But like having picking all your protein sources, what are those going to be, and then building out, all right, what do I want to pair it in terms of vegetables, carbs, what are my fat sources, and yeah, just like building meals there that you can easily make work with either hitting your macros or like following your meal plan. So yeah, I think that those are really best tips and best practices. I will share another strategy that I've been doing in terms of meal prep is I like to do it on the weekend. And then I like to also do it another night during the week. So typically Thursdays, like recently I haven't needed to meal prep as much because I'm kind of like you. I have the very easy, simple like meal plan meals. But like if I want to make just a little bit something more complex, I'll do it on, the weekend. And then I need to prep things again, like on like a Thursday night is typically when I do it. Because if I don't do that second day, then the whole weekend I don't really have things ready to go. And I'm like, oh, we can just go out. Oh, yeah, we're running errands. Let's go grab this. Versus if you meal prep, like you will have food ready to go and you will be, more easily set up for success. It just makes things so much easier. So that is something that I would recommend is if you do like have set meal prep days versus just, prepping on the fly like a lot of us do. But if you do kind of set those days, is think about 2 times during the week because who wants to prep a meal and 7 days later eat it? First of all, it's probably bad. And second of all, it probably tastes gross. So,
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. People think it takes a long time, but maybe it'll take you like an hour twice a week versus 20 to 30 minutes, 7 days a week. So actually, you're saving time by meal prepping. People
yeah.
can't like comprehend that for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And like think about it too, just how to be most efficient when you are meal prepping because like start by throwing your potatoes in that will take a while and then behind that chuck in the vegetables and then throw your protein in the air fryer. Like all those things can be done at the same time. And then
Yeah.
while those are going, maybe you chop up like some fruit ahead of time or your veggies or whatever it is. And yeah, there you go. Like usually whenever I meal prep, it doesn't take more than an hour. Maybe if I decide to get fancy with it for whatever reason, it's like an hour, it's like two or so, but I usually split it up during the day anyways. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's super doable and something that, if you do it once, you'll be like, oh, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, it might take 2, 3 hours, but you're not standing there for 2 or 3 hours. Like things are cooking, you're doing other things. Cleaning the house, fun. Or like, playing with a kid or doing some business. You're not standing there watching paint dry or watching your chicken cook, are you? So even though it might take a long time, you can be pretty productive and do other things at the same time.
Yes, 100%. And just look at it like there's something online going around. It's like Sunday reset, and it's like people make these videos of them like cleaning and just doing stuff on Sunday to like reset their life. And I feel like sometimes just thinking of that in your head, like, oh, I'm doing like a Sunday reset. It's just like romanticizing it instead of like having such resistance to it. It's like I think people who have so much resistance and they just talk about things like, oh, I don't want to meal prep and I don't want to clean my house. It's like, just let that thought and feeling go and just see how you can like make it fun and like
Yeah.
romanticize it. And then another thing with that, I'm like going on my little rant, but the people who like when I use my phone way too much, or anyone who's you're on your phone way too much, that is just frying your dopamine centers when you're just scrolling, 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 to then easy things in real life feel so hard and you have all this resistance and life sucks and everything feels like terrible and then you don't meal prep and then life goes down the drain. So that's like the spiral that people get into. And so if you are someone who just really has so much resistance, but you are also like scrolling on your phone a lot, like challenge yourself. All right, I'm gonna go 36 hours, no scrolling. A week, I'm gonna
Mm.
delete, Instagram, whatever it is. And do that and watch how your brain will reset and start to actually find joy in doing things like cooking. Like it can be fun, like
Mm.
it can be enjoyable and it doesn't always have to be so much resistance to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And finding ways to make it fun as well. Another thing, people often say, but my partner doesn't like eating the same thing, or my partner likes to do this. It's like, well, maybe, or my partner likes to watch Netflix. Maybe you two can bond over cooking. Maybe that would be a nice like thing to do that hits, two targets, our health and fitness targets and our relationship targets or goals. Like find ways to make fun, healthy versions of the foods that you really like. If you go to KFC, make a fake away zinger burger or something. There's fun ways to do it, but at the same time, you're having conversations. You're not just sat passively next to each other, scrolling whilst also trying to watch something Netflix. And you know, it's how can we kill as many birds with one stone as possible?
Yeah, I love that so much. Because, yeah, like I keep seeing stuff about how I saw a video of this girl said, my relationship got so much better when we stopped watching TV and we actually like re-engaged in our life together. And I was like, wow, that's so true. Like, I think a lot of the time you can get into a habit of just sitting down, like watching TV or whatever. And yeah, like do something together. Just, cooking is a great
Yeah.
place to start.
Mm. Yeah. And you're working on something together, like a project. And so that's going to build your confidence in the relationship and, as an individual. So win-win.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Anything else you want to add to the conversation of meal prep? I feel like we hit it from like all angles.
Yeah. I think the only other thing which you reminded me about is like you can also, if you literally do not have time to cook, you could plan in meals like from Whole Foods. They do the high protein, like ready to go meals. They're easy to plan in to hit your macros. Like base, say you haven't got time to, cook lunch, for example, you haven't got time to meal prep lunch, but you can do evening dinners. If you're going to go out for whole foods, like put in your lunch whole food, like the general chow, I think it is, chicken or whatever it's got in there. Put that in and then build the rest of the meals around that. If that is the one thing that can't move or it's difficult to change, like have that and then build the rest of the meals around it. So you could definitely still add in these easy foods that you literally don't even have to cook. Maybe you go to Subway and get a Subway salad. There's so many different options. You just need to commit to taking action instead of complaining that you're not getting anywhere.
Boom, mic drop. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on today. I would love if
Thanks
you,
for having me, Anna.
yeah, share with our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, they can find me at Faye Nicola Fitness on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm Faye Nicolala Chapman.
Awesome. Thank you for all the value today. Really appreciate it. And I hope that you and
Thanks,
everyone
Anna.
listening has a great rest of their day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.